So we are back to the study of the Spirit book, chapter 3, book 3, chapter 6. We are studying the moral laws, and today we are going to study the law of destruction. And as I mentioned last week, not the ideal theme before festivities, but there is a lot to learn and a lot of good conclusions we can get from studying this subject. So let's go into it. Zoraida, can you read it for us?
Yes, of course. Necessary versus abusive destruction. 728. Is destruction a law of nature? Everything must be destroyed so that it may be renewed. What you call destruction is only a transformation to renew and improve living beings. A. So the instinct of destruction was given to living beings for providential purposes. God's creatures are instruments used to accomplish divine plans. Living beings destroy each other for food, and this maintains a natural balance of reproduction, which could otherwise become excessive. Also, it utilizes the materials of their external envelopes. However, only this envelope is destroyed, which is only an accessory and not the essential part of a living being. The essential part is the intelligent principle, which is indestructible and developed over the course of many metamorphoses.
Okay, so first, some concepts here. Destruction is a law of nature. We see, we talked, if we look at the evolution of planet Earth, we see that a lot of destruction and rebuilding happened independent of our human being participation in it, right? So you can see that it's a law of nature. When we study this chapter, we have to remember to study from a bird's eye view, right? To look at destruction as in historical perspective and in the sense of renewal, like the Spirit says here. The destruction is only a transformation to renew and improve living beings. And most important, we have to understand that we, spirits, are eternal, are not destructible, right? So what can be destructed is our physical body, the world we live in, the places we live in, but everything external to us. We, the spirit, cannot be destructed. So we are eternal spirits. So there will be changes and renewal. So we cannot think of destruction as personal in the sense of the spirit, because the eternal spirit will survive any destruction that happens around us. One thing that I learned recently that I found very interesting when I was visiting Israel a couple of months ago, and there is a lot of archaeology there, right? Archaeological studies. And the guy told us, archaeology is a science of destruction. And I found it fascinating. Why is a science of destruction? Because if you want to reach the Roman times, you have to destroy everything that is on the top. The Middle Ages, everything that they built on top of the Roman times, you have to destroy. So it's a destruction with the objective of learning more, of educating us about history, right? And also one thing that they do, which is has to do also with archaeology, what they do in Israel now is that they excavate, they find things, and when they explored what they could, they close it, they close everything, and they cover it and close everything. Why? To leave it for future generations with better technology to be able to go back and explore better. what they found it today, which is, you know, that's forward thinking, and that's humans thinking about ourselves in the future, coming back, right? So are we going to say that the destruction of what is above the Roman times, it's a bad destruction? No, it's a necessary destruction for us to get to the level of what we need to explore. So we have to start looking at destruction from a different perspective, from a different point of view. Of course, again, there are destructions that are unnecessary, that are caused by us human beings, that we should try to learn to avoid. But we cannot think of all the destructions as something negative. We have to think as something that is part of the natural law, is part of our process of evolution. Our physical body, that we have to take care of it very well, because we need it to be able to work, to live a good life, to be able to be an active part of society, it's going to be destructed, like it or not, right? It's when our physical body dies and we go back to the spiritual world, the physical body goes back to nature. It's destroyed, but is reused in nature, right? Nature reuses everything that is destroyed. So a destruction is really a process of renewal. Recycling, exactly, which is a word. So the instinct of destruction, as they say here, right? Animals kill other animals. Some animals kill other animals in order to eat, right? To survive. It is a destruction. You are destroying the life of another animal in order to survive. But it is to keep the balance of nature, right? If we don't do anything, the balance, animals keep the balance of nature by themselves. It's just when humans interfere that we affect the balance of nature, and we change nature. But if we leave it to themselves, nature will take care of itself, right? So once we get over this wrong concept that we have of destruction as something negative, we can start studying it a little better and start understanding it a little more impartially, and seeing the positives that some type of destructions come. And we are going to talk about it in other questions here. Okay?
Yeah, this concept is old, is very well understood in science. It's Lavoisier law, right? Like in nature, nothing is destroyed, everything is transformed. The problems is when the destruction is done for the sake of destruction. If you are digging social something in anthropology, you have a purpose behind of it. When animals kill, they are killing to eat or to defend a territory. That's the way they manage that environment, the way they keep the balance in that environment. But when we destroy for the sake of destruction, when we destroy in wars, that's not natural. That's not part of the natural law. If you have your house that knows a 2-bedroom, 2 more kids comes and you need more, you have to break down the walls to rebuild, to make the house bigger. So you have to destroy to rebuild it better. That is normal, that's part of nature. But to destroy for the sake of destruction, to cause harm, that's not part of the natural laws.
That goes against the natural law, yeah. Yeah, and that's it. So let's, on what Elmo said, the items we're going to be discussing here on this chapter, we're going to talk about war, murder, cruelty, dueling, and capital punishment, which are all destructions that are far from being positive, on the opposite, right? Yeah, so, and this first item is necessary versus abusive destruction, which is what Elmo just mentioned, and then we're going to study destructive scourges. Okay, so we're going to talk a lot about it.
Okay.
Next.
729. If destruction is necessary for the regeneration of beings, why does nature surround them with the means of self-preservation and conservation, so that their destruction only happens at the right time? Premature destruction delays the development of the intelligent principle. This is why God has given each being the desire to live and reproduce.
That's, we always talk about Kardec's questions, right? So if destruction is necessary, Kardec's obvious question after it is, why does nature then gives us, yes, the instinct of self-preservation? Nature surrounds everyone with the means, right? Which is the balance, right? The destruction happens only at the right time. The Spirit says a premature destruction only delays the development of an intelligent principle.
Yeah, can you expand on that? What do you mean the development of the intelligent principle that we have in consciousness doesn't die?
No, but delays, right? Delays, right? So you have, so let's go from the beginning, the intelligent principle that is going through the mineral, vegetable, animal phase, right? You have to have those for the intelligent principle to go through it. If you destroy nature, you are delaying the opportunity of this intelligent principle to go through that phase, and they will need to go somewhere else. So you have to rearrange it.
Exactly, it delays, but it's the pressure is inexorable.
Yes, it delays.
The
The progress is law of progress is a natural law. So we will continue progressing, but it will delay, and we don't want to delay. And when I actually you thought about that, and I thought about the war, right, that we are having, right? So those that are being attacked in the war, what they are doing, they are just trying to defend themselves. They have no time left to develop their abilities, to grow as, of course, you are always growing, you're always progressing, always learning. But you are delaying their progress because defending yourself, which is your primary objective, is to defend your life all the time. You are missing the opportunity of dedicating yourself to other intellectual. So that's another example of premature destruction. You are destroying things that shouldn't be destroyed. Okay. Okay. Next.
Okay. 7:30. Since death leads to a better life, deliver us from the difficulties and suffering of our present existence, and we should anticipate it rather than fear it. Why do human beings have an instinctive fear of death? We have said that humans should try to prolong their lives to accomplish their tasks. This is why God has given them the instinct of self-preservation. This instinct sustains them through all their trials, without which they would often succumb to discouragement. The inner voice telling them to prevent death also tells them that they may still do more for their advancement. Every danger that threatens them is a warning to profit from the relief God grants them. As humans are ingrates, they are more likely to thank their stars than their creator.
Okay, so the question from Kardec here is, if our true life is life in the spiritual world, why are we afraid of death, and why we are always trying to survive? Why we have this fear of what comes after? Well, we have the fear of the unknown, right? For most of us, it's the unknown. Again, talking about the majority of the population, we fear what we don't understand. So we fear afterlife because part of us do not believe that it ends, that it continues. Part of us fear that they are going to the wrong place, to hell, or to places like that, right? Or they fear or they are just not, they want to live their life. But we have to remember, also expanding on this question, that our true experience in terms of progressing morally and intellectually happens when we are incarnated at our level of evolution, again, at our level that we are nowadays. We learn in the spiritual world, yes, we learn, but to put in practice what we learn, we need to incarnate. We can do, in the spiritual world, we are surrounded by spirits that are at the same level of vibration that we are. Here, we are surrounded by all different types of spirits. We need to deal and learn to deal with the differences and learn to overcome the differences, to be comfortable with the differences. It's a way that we are learning, evolving morally, right? And intellectually also we are learning. We learn there, we learn here, but we are learning also through using the intellectual evolution to help us progress. So the Spirit tells us here in the end that every danger that threatens us, it's an opportunity to learn, to evolve. But we normally, as I say, we are ingrates, we thank our lucky stars instead of thanking the Creator, right? But it's a natural instinct of survival that we need to have with us, because if we don't have it, we perish very easily, right? We need the instinct of self-preservation, and to better use our life here as we understand our concept, the concept of eternal spirits, and the importance of an incarnation, we are better using our time here during this incarnation to try to overcome our imperfections, to improve ourselves, to move forward in our progress, right? Again, the law is of progress. Even those that are making no effort are learning that eventually that they will look back and see that no effort was a waste of time. Okay.
731. Why has nature provided agents of destruction alongside the means of self-preservation? The disease and the remedy go hand in hand. As we have already told you, this is done to maintain equilibrium and serve as a counterpart balance.
Yeah, so this question is kind of, why do we have hurricanes and as we are learning to protect ourselves from the hurricanes? And they had the answer from the spirits, right? The disease and the remedy go hand in hand. If we didn't have hurricanes, we wouldn't learn how to defend ourselves, how to protect our homes, how to build better homes, better buildings. So it is always, we are always learning from these catastrophes, right? Of course, when we are in the middle of the destruction, you cannot go and tell the people that were just victims of this last hurricane in Florida that it's renewal. They lost everything. They don't see any renewal there, right? So we have to be conscious of that's why when we give examples here of destruction, we like to give examples of the past, not of the present. We're not going to talk about the pandemic here because we are in the middle of it. We are not seeing anything positive. We see some things positive, but that's not the subject we're going to discuss. Now, when we talk about the Black Plague that happened in Europe in the Middle Ages, looking back, we understand why it happened, the necessity of what it happened, how much we learned from it, how much society changed from it. So it was an important, did it need to happen? They are going to say actually the next question, it's a little bit later, that sometimes these destructions are necessary for us to evolve faster, right? At our stage of evolution are needed. So what we had on the Black Plague, which is an example I always use, we have feudal system for almost 1,000 years that was preventing humankind to evolve. The Black Plague destroyed the feudal system, made, eliminated half to 2/3 of the population of Europe, and made everything change. And from that, Renaissance happened, and all the progress that happened after. Everyone that lost their lives in the Black Plague, they already reincarnated, they already started a new journey, they learned and they evolved. So no spirit was lost to the Black Plague. A lot of physical lives were lost. But so that's how we have to look at these destructions that happen for the need for humankind to evolve. We are a little bit 15 years removed from the tsunami that killed 300,000 people in Asia, right? Or in Asia and Africa. It's still too early for us to look back and see the benefits. There are some already happening there, here and there, but we still have a lot of people that lost everything, lost loved ones, and they are still alive, right? So we need to look at destruction, at things that happened that have we are no longer part of it, right? Even when you look at some natural catastrophes that happen nowadays, right? The fires that a lot of are caused by human causes. They happen for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Should we try to prevent? Yes, we should try to find all the available resources to prevent more and more destruction. And eventually, we will see later, we are going to learn as we evolve, we will have less and less of these catastrophes. And we will have destruction with the objective of renewal, like what Elmo said, right? When you destroy your house to build a better one. It's a destruction, but it's a necessary one because you need to build a better house or because your house is in danger or something like that. Okay.
And we don't work to resolve problems that did not happen yet. We only learn to deal with problems when the problem shows up. We don't go looking for problems to resolve. The problem comes to us, then we find means to resolve it. That's why we need to be challenged to progress.
Okay. 732. Is destruction necessary in all worlds? It is proportionate to the material state of each world. In worlds of higher physical and moral purity, it is no longer needed. In worlds more advanced than yours, the conditions of existence are completely different.
So, for us that we live here, it's difficult to imagine and understand what is a world where destruction doesn't happen, right? So we can only theorize about it. But let's go back to the archaeology, right? That we said we have to destroy everything to reach the Roman Empire, right? The Roman times. Wouldn't we think that in a more evolved world, in an equivalent work, we wouldn't need to destroy, we would be able to remove and preserve everything that is above without having to resort to destruction? I don't know, I'm just wondering here, speculating. So I imagine that, it's something like that, right? As we evolve, the destruction will be less destruction, or it won't even be called destruction. It will be called renewal, recycling, repair, but we won't.
That's probably a word for it, but it's not coined yet.
No, we don't have the word yet, right? So that's the only thing I can imagine here answering this. But and we know that as we evolve, and again, we have just to look at ourselves, right? we live in much better conditions that we lived 1,000 years ago, right? To protect ourselves from cold, from the weather, from animals. We have much better conditions, and still we struggle in many other areas that we're going to learn to protect ourselves better, right? Diseases, you know, at the time of Kardec, that was before Pasteur or at the time of Pasteur, right? Yeah, the microbes were being discovered, right? So they start to protect themselves against the contamination of microbes, right? Now, yeah, about the same time. Nowadays, we still get contaminated, but at least we know how to try to protect ourselves, right? So, you know, we can only speculate, but the only thing we know is that as the Spirit says here, in worlds of higher physical and moral purity, it's no longer needed, destruction. So you will have another name that we don't have it yet, like Paco said, and another form. But renewal will always happen, right? Everything is evolving. Okay.
733. Will destruction always be necessary for human beings on Earth? The need for destruction decreases in humans as their spirits obtain control over matter. This is why intellectual and moral development is always accompanied by an aversion to destruction.
So the spirits are saying here that as we evolve morally and intellectually, it increases our aversion to destruction. So in the past, we destroyed and didn't care, right? And when you read about the destruction, for instance, on the Library of Alexandria, right? One of the most important libraries that ever exist in humanity was destroyed just because invaders decided to destroy. The Temple of Jerusalem that I visited was destroyed twice, completely destroyed by invaders, just for the sake of destroying it without any thought. We still have, unfortunately, human beings that are capable of destroying without any concern by what they are destroying. And we had in Afghanistan, we had when the Taliban took power 15 years ago, they destroyed all the old temples that were heritage of humankind. And we have, in the war of Ukraine, a lot of the good historical constructions in Ukraine are being destroyed, but being attacked. So we're still destroying it. But the aversion to destruction and the repulse that the majority have for this type of destruction keeps growing. And if you look forward, right? Even when we talk about wars, right? The modern warfare concerns itself with not destroying property, right? Again, so doesn't make war better. But you see that even in thinking about going to war, humans are already more concerned about not destroying property, right? You have those bombs that just kill people and doesn't destroy anything. It's horrible when you think about it, but it's progress, if you can call it progress. It's a difficult word it's difficult to call it progress, but it is, right?
So one time in our life, Hammurabi laws was progress.
Yeah.
Now it's not acceptable at all.
Yeah. So this aversion to destruction will only grow in us as evolving spirits, and we are learned to preserve. And I think we preserve, even if you compare 100 150 years ago, we're preserving much better, much more concerned in preserving things nowadays than we used to, right? And if you go to any museum, every time I go to a museum and I see these antique things, I keep thinking, wow, if this is here, imagine how much was lost in time, right? Because we see one 1/1000 of what they had originally. I don't know even know the number, right? If we were able to preserve those things that are in the museum, imagine the number of things we lost throughout human history. And actually, it's one of the things, on the going back to the spiritual world, one of the things I would like to do is to revisit human history like Chico did when he was writing the books that Emmanuel took him to the time of the Roman Empire. And, I would love to go back in time and visit all this history, civilization, right? These places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 7:34.
Now we go into an interesting subject.
Yeah. Mhm. Do humans currently have an unlimited right to destroy animals? This right is limited to providing for their food and safety. No form of abuse can be considered a right.
The right is limited to providing for their food and safety, right? So we discussed this last week when we were talking about self-preservation, right? The necessity still to consume animal flesh, and Elmo talked a little bit about it. As we are learning to move away from consuming animal flesh, we are learning more, and it's a step that we're going step by step, but we need to understand that for us to move away from eating animals, we need to find a way to keep the balance of nature, right? I read that we kill 30 million turkeys for Thanksgiving somewhere every year. 30 million. Okay, it's wow, right? Now, we cannot stop killing 30 million turkeys because we create a big problem for nature, right?
We cannot do that instantly.
Yes, we need to every year reduce the number. So because you reduce when you no longer need to kill 30 million, you're not going to create, because you're creating turkeys to destroy them, right? To kill them, right? So you see in the future that when nature is balanced, you have animals that balance out themselves. It's difficult to see nowadays, right? But again, it cannot be an abrupt change. If those that can live without eating meat and are comfortable with it and learn to replace the animal flesh with the appropriate nutrients, right, that are needed, great, it's progress, right? We need to move forward in that direction, but we need to understand that the necessity of taking care of nature, because it's on all of us, it's important, right? When you are and we have many problems throughout the world with animals that were not supposed to be in a place, and they are taken to a place and they become a plague in that place because they have no natural they are not natural prey to any other animals of that region, and becomes a plague, right? So we need to learn how to balance, and for that to balance, it has, until we learn that, we need the law of destruction. It's part of our progress. And again, then we go back to, we're not destroying the spiritual principle, we're destroying the physicality of the animal, right? So when we're killing 30 million turkeys, we're not killing 30 million spirits there, because turkey is not an individual spirit, it's a spiritual principle that is learning through that phase, the bird phase, acquiring, and again, it's not individual, it's general. So you are using that as an opportunity for this spiritual principle to move on to a more evolved kind of animal, because also in the animal phase there is evolution. So it's just for us to understand that the law of destruction, we're talking about it, is still necessary at our world. We need to find the right balance, and to find the right balance, we still need to destroy physical things, right? Now, there are limits, and the next one is a very good example of what is abuse of the ability to destroy.
Okay. 735. What should we think of destruction that goes beyond the limits of needs and safety, such as hunting, when its sole purpose is to kill merely for sport? It is a predominance of brutality over the spiritual nature. Any destruction that goes beyond the limits of your needs is a violation of God's law. Animals only kill based on necessity, but human beings destroy without cause despite having free will. They must account for abusing the freedom granted to them when they yield to inferior instincts from which they should be freed.
Okay, so here we're talking about a very still popular sport in the world, right? Hunting.
Hunting, yes.
What is, the spirits tell clearly here is predominance of brutality over the spiritual nature, is us going back to our instinctive nature of necessity of killing others, right? That we still have, but it's not only on hunting, right? When you have this some sports that are violent and that people enjoy, it's our primitive nature prevailing over our more spiritual nature. Now, having said that, even on hunting, we are progressing, right? Because there are many places that are regulations that you can only kill as to preserve the balance of that region, that allow you to kill what is considered to be excessive type of animal in that region, because if you have all of those, you cause destruction on others. I don't really understand about it. I can only talk about it theoretically, because I was never very interested in that sport.
Well, hunting was actually once a sport of the upper classes.
Yeah, it's still in England. You still have the hunting for the elite hunt, the fox, hunting of the fox, right?
It was bad.
It was bad, yeah. But again, if we look at ourselves, how did we start as primitive spirits? Hunting, right?
Hunting,
that was the way to survive.
Even before agriculture, you're right.
Yeah, before agriculture, we were hunting, right? So that's there. Each one of us brings this instinct. It can be completely blocked or completely, we can overcome it. We have no desire to hunt or no interest in hunting, but it is there, it's part of us.
It is an instinctual background.
Yeah, it's just that those that like it are not able yet to overcome their natural instinct that they bring from primitive incarnations, right? And again, primitive but it's not only primitive, because we've been hunting. You look at hunting, it happened throughout history, right? So for us to overcome this natural instinct, we still need to evolve. We as humankind, right? I'm not talking individuals. We still need to evolve. We need to overcome our inferior instincts that makes us like the sport, right? Again, it's less and less people, and nowadays we don't hunt, but when we talk about killing animals, right? We normally talk about hunting, so we're killing fox, or we're killing deer, or we're killing. Well, we kill ants, we kill cockroach. Are we going to discuss that? All right. So, based on necessity, to protect ourselves, yes, but I leave to each one their own judgment, right? Chico Xavier, he wouldn't kill even a cockroach or an ant because they are all little brothers and little sisters, as he used to say, right? Of course, we are not Chico, and we're very far from being. But again, we can see the objective of getting there, right? Again, when I see a cockroach, I'm not going to try to protect it. Unfortunately, it's not in me yet. But eventually, we'll learn. But again, necessity is a key word here, because if you have an infestation, you need to kill to protect the environment. So the destruction with an infestation is necessity, is not cruelty. Again, it's cruelty against necessity. Where is the line? Difficult to say, but it's important for us also to have this conscience of still at this world, because of the changes that we caused in the world, humans, we have the necessity to eliminate some species that that we have too many, right? That are causing damage to nature itself. So it's part of our purpose here. And again, we have to go back to the notion that we are all eternal spirits. We are just destroying physical things. We're not destroying intelligent principle or the spirit.
Okay.
Now the opposite.
Okay. 736. Do people who are excessively conscientious in regard to killing animals earn some sort of special merit? While the sentiment in itself is praiseworthy, it turns into an abuse when excessive. Furthermore, other types of abuses offset its merit. They feel a superstitious fear rather than true gentleness.
What they're talking here is some religions that consider some animals sacred.
Like in India, the cow.
Yes. So the sentiment in itself is praiseworthy, but when it turns into an abuse, when excessive. So they have a superstitious fear rather than true gentleness. So they don't kill because they fear to be punished by the gods. But this is superstition. While the pure sentiment of not killing animals, like Chico Xavier, it's one thing. When you are doing just for fear, or because of that, you are causing disturbance in the environment, then it's not with the natural law. It goes against the natural law, right? So that's what the spirits are trying to tell us here, right? Because if you protect, again, we talked about species that are taken to a different place, that they are not natural, and eventually if they become a plague, you have to destroy them. Sometimes the only way to protect the environment is to destroy. So it's important for us to understand that in the end, what's important is our evolution, protecting the earth for all of us, for now and for when we come back, to have this place that we can use to continue evolving morally and intellectually, and doing the best in our abilities to protect it. And that again, at this stage of our evolution, includes destruction of nature and of animals when necessary, right? And again, we don't have it's not black and white, right? Unfortunately, it's not black and white. Sometimes we're going to think that we're doing the right thing by destroying something, and in the end, we'll find out that it was not the right thing. So we reevaluate and we change our habits and for us to continue progress. Okay.
I think it's important to know facts before we take sides. You know, people take sides for whatever reason, don't know what the facts really are. And two, we have to protect ourselves first. So if your rats in New York City are bringing some celiac disease, are you going to protect the rats and let humans get sick with those very serious diseases? No, you're going to try to eliminate rat infestation to the best of our ability. You're never going to win that battle, but we're going to try to control it to the best of our ability to protect the humans first. Now, there are people over there that rather protect the rats than the humans. That is the abuse. That's the problem right here. You know, so a bunch of monkeys attack plantations of I don't know, of corn in India where everybody's hungry, and they destroy the crop because they are sacred. Now, humans can go hungry and be malnourished, but the monks can't. So we need to know facts, you know, put things about in perspective, and know very well that the monks will find food for themselves. They're pretty smart. They don't have to come and destroy the corn field. But that's an abuse. That's going to allow radical dogmas to overpower reason.
Superstitions.
Right. You know, so you have to know facts and act according to those facts. Humans first, rats second.
Or third. Yeah. Okay. Questions? All right. Destructive scores.
737. What is God's purpose in inflicting destructive scourges upon humankind? To make human beings advance more quickly. As we have already stated, destruction is necessary for the moral regeneration of spirits who move one step closer to perfection in each new existence. To appreciate the results, we must consider the purpose or the end. If you only judge them from your personal point of view, they appear to be plagues because of the harm they cause you. Such events are often needed to spur faster development and achieve in only a few years what would otherwise have taken centuries to accomplish.
Yeah, we go back to the Black Plague, right? It would take centuries to change the feudal system in Europe the way it was established. So you had a plague that destroyed the lives of half of the population and caused a big change in the evolution of humankind, right? So, of course, we're not going to say this to the person that lost all 5 members of his or her family and that was left alone. That person cannot understand that or cannot even accept that, right? So we're not going to bring this discussion to those that are victims of these destructions. But we have to look at, understand from a theoretical point of view that in order for Earth to evolve, you know, why the meteor hit Earth and destroyed all the dinosaurs, right? Because Earth had to change. We could not live together with the dinosaurs. I know that a lot of the young kids would like to, watching the movies, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, we could not live with dinosaurs here on Earth, right? So it had to end. And it ended with there are no humans, right? I read once that if we look at Earth as a 24-hour circle, right? The dinosaurs arrived at 5 to midnight, and we arrived at 30 seconds to midnight. So
Oh,
yes, I thought it was interesting that.
what interesting.
Yeah. So from the destruction of the dinosaurs until us, it took a very long time also. But it was necessary to the renewal of Earth. If you, for those that remember the study of Genesis with Julio, when he talked about the various phases of the Earth, the evolution of Earth, you see all the changes that happened during the changes in the planet, right?
We never recorded that.
No, it was before recording, yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know, it was all destruction, right? There was no human participation on that destruction, but it was all destructions, right? Planet, not planet, the continents were destructed, changed. The sea was changed, right? In the beginning, all the continents were together, and for all this to happen, there has been life in this planet for like 3 million years, 3 billion years. I don't know. I don't remember. We need Julio here to remember. A lot of these species were destroyed, right, in these catastrophes. The only remains from the dinosaurs are birds, right? We still have birds that descend from the dinosaur, the time of the dinosaur, the reptiles that used to fly, right? And they say if humans manage to destroy the Earth, the only survivors will be the cockroaches. Here are them again. But so you see how much, if we look at that bird's eye point of view, you see how much was destroyed, right? A large number of animals that we never heard of because they were before our time, right? Dogs are a recent animal. They have existed for what, 15,000 years, 50,000 years, dogs, something like that. Cats are much more old, much older than dogs. Yes, dog is an evolution from the wolf, right?
And the cat, I guess,
Yeah, but the cats existed for a much longer time.
yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, for people that lived before dogs existed, they didn't miss any dogs. They never knew. So there will be things change, things are destroyed. It's just that we need to understand that concept of looking at destruction as part of the progress, right? And these destructions that these destructive scourges that happen upon humankind, we can only understand that studying history when we have gone through it, right? So there are studies of the Spanish plague that happened, the Spanish flu that happened 100 years ago, and some of the changes that happened because of the Spanish flu that you can understand nowadays. 1920 and 1918 to 1922, yes. So the same way in 100 years, we'll look at this pandemic that we're going through and we'll be able to see what did it bring to us in terms of progress, right? With the destruction. Nowadays, we're still in the middle of it. So we don't even should be looking for that. We can see some things, right? This instrument that we're using here, this online studies became popular with the pandemic, right? So it's already something that was positive. But again, the whole benefit of it, we will only be able to see later. So let's do one more because that next one is interesting. Then we start.
Okay, 738. Could God improve humankind by using methods other than destructive scourges? Yes, and God uses them every day. The Creator has given each of you the means of progressing through the knowledge of good and iniquity. Because humans profit so little by those other means, it is necessary to wound their pride and to make them feel their weaknesses. A, good people fall victim to these scourges just as much as bad people do. Is it fair? On earth, each On earth, human beings measure everything against their physical lives. After death, they see things differently and feel that the physical life is nothing. A century in your world is but a flash in eternity. Therefore, the suffering of days, months, or even years on earth are of no significance and are only a lesson that will serve you in the future. Spirits of the real world, pre-existent to and surviving everything else. They are God's children and the focus of all divine concern. Bodies are only the outer shells under which they appear in the physical world. When great scourges disseminate the human race, the victims are like an army whose clothing is torn, worn out, or lost in battle. A general cares more about his soldiers than his coats. But the victims of these calamities are victims nonetheless. If you viewed life on earth for what it truly is, and as being so small in comparison to infinity, you would attach much less importance to it. These victims will find significant compensation for their pain in another existence if they bear their suffering with resignation. Whether death is a result of a public disaster or results from an ordinary cause, we are forced to go when the hour of our departure has come. The only difference is that more such departures occurred at the same time in the event of a public disaster. If we could elevate ourselves to contemplate the human race as a whole, the calamities that seem so terrible now would be reduced to passing storms in the destiny of the world.
Okay, so the question here is why God? Can God use other methods and not destruction? And the Spirit tells us God uses that every day. We are progressing without destroying in a lot of other things, right? But destroying is still, the law of destruction is still a human, a natural law that sometimes is necessary for us to learn and to progress. Like I always say here, right? We're lazy. We need to be challenged. If we're not challenged, we don't make an effort. And in general, right? So sometimes that's what it's needed. And then, of course, Kardec asks, well, but when there are these destructions, good people also fall victim of it, right? And then I remember Paco's favorite phrase here, right? A century in your world is but a flash in eternity, right, Paco?
Yes.
I love that.
I love that.
Yes. So again, we are eternal spirits. These are all experiences that if we look at them at the right way, they help us progress. They are tools that we have to use to progress. Our physical bodies are only outer shells. The comparison he makes here, Kuma General care more about his soldiers than their coats. Right, so if the clothes are destroying the war, the general is worried about the soldiers, that if the soldiers are preserved. So our physical body can be destroyed and we will continue to live. How we deal with it, it's what makes us progress more or less according to our individual evolution, right? And then we're talking about the victims. They are victims nonetheless. And then the Spirit says, right, they are victims, but how they bear their suffering is what's going to make the difference for them in the future, right? The resignation and the acceptance are the tools for us to transform the experience in a learning and progress, right? And this comment by Kardec when he talks about public disaster or when we need to go back, we have to remember that statistic I always bring when we talk about this, right? 150,000 people discarnate every day on Earth. 150,000, give it or take it, maybe 160, something like that. So discarnate, go back to the spiritual world, die every day. So if you look at plane disaster that kills 130 people, it's a disaster, it's a tragedy, but in terms of number, it's very small, right? So again, putting things in perspective, how the things work. So 150,000 every day. Their physical bodies are being buried, cremated, all different sort of things, going back to nature. It's a very big number, right?
A little bit more are born every day, right?
Yes, born, it's like 10 to 50,000 more or something, or even more. I think it's at our stage now is like 200,000 being born every day against 160,000 dying every day. So 200,000 new well, old spirits, but new physical bodies every day, right? It's the renewal.
Have to make room for that.
Yes, it's destruction and renewal at the same time, right?
I like that. We have to make room for them. I like
Yes.
that. Sounds a little bit kind of. Doesn't sound too right, but it's true.
But you know, if we look at ourselves as eternal spirits, we have to make room for ourselves also, right? So we want to come back. We need this to continue in this process, because when we come back, we need to, it needs to be easier for us to come back than it is for many of those spirits nowadays. Because if you have, Divaldo said on the lecture this Sunday, 21 billion spirits in the spirit world around Earth.
Around us.
Around us. So we have 8 billion incarnated and 21 billion discarnated around Earth. A lot of them are looking for the opportunity, and we need to allow them to come, right? Opportunities have to be created for them. So again, we cannot look at the death of the physical body as a destruction. It's just the natural cycle. It's the end of a physical life, learning for the spirit, and how we make good use of this experience is our individual journey that we have to.
But yet I have to tell you this, that this is just, I've learned that here.
Yeah.
Understand? I learned that here, but out there,
Yeah.
you know, it's like.
We can only help those that want to be helped, right? Those that are searching for this type of knowledge are going to find here or in other places. But unfortunately, the vast majority of us, humankind, are not interested, are just concerned about our present life.
I don't know about that. That's my point. I guess I'm a teacher, so we also have to, when you do a lesson in a classroom, you have to start with a motivational each thing to get them interested. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't get me started, because you know how I feel about churches and all that and religion. But they don't procure those things.
That's true. Yeah.
They don't procure those things,
All right. But we'll come back. We went over a little bit. We'll come back to this in 2 weeks' time, remember?
Oh, that's right. We're not.
Yeah, we are closed from tomorrow to the 3rd, right? The 3rd we reopen with the Spiritism at Noon study, and then on the 5th we will be back here to continue studying the Spirit's book. Okay, so we don't have any activities this weekend. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that for all of you. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes. How is the voice? I'm not sure if I'm coming through. Can you hear me? Oh, you can hear me now?
Perfectly.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Other day, I don't know. There were issues. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, John. Thank you, Elmo. And thank you, Sarita, for reading. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks for the opportunity to be together again for our study of the Spirit's book, the chapter involving the law of destruction. Destruction is part of the natural law, and it is necessary for renewal, repair, and improvement. There is necessary destruction versus abusive destruction. This type of destruction is harmful and delays progress. We can look to the past, however, for a better comprehension of renewal and development. Self-preservation and survival is a natural instinct which helps us advance in the physical world. We are eternal spirits, we must remind ourselves, and we will progress with each new existence. Physical change is indeed inevitable. Keep a balanced perspective each day. We give thanks for all we have learned this year. We give thanks for our lesson this evening. We are grateful to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, our teachers, our guides, who are assisting us to have a better understanding and comprehension of these issues. We are grateful to be together, not only this evening, but what we have been through during the past year. We are grateful for receiving the benefits, the blessings, the healings, the teachings. Everything good has been delivered to us. May we use it wisely, and may we be good stewards of the earth, respecting not only the earth, but our physical bodies, our perispirits, and our spirit. May we ask kindly for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. We are never alone, and we have been receiving beautiful guidance each day, each evening throughout this year. May it continue to bring us through to a new year and inspire us to continue with our studies, our development, our prayers, and our mindfulness. We are so grateful, and may we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, especially during this wonderful light-filled month, the season of light, Christmas, Hanukkah, all the wonderful traditions that are brought forth this time of year. May we continue to share these blessings with our loved ones, our family members especially, friends, those who are in need, and extend to the greater world at large, those who are suffering on all levels. May we bring forth to bear help, harmony, peace, love, understanding, respect for all in this world. We ask now to remind ourselves to be beacons of light as we go forth now in peace, in love, in courage, and in charity. So be it. Thank you.